Okay, it is at 1.03. Alrighty, part 2, the mashing. Now this is the fun bit. This is really the bit I wanted to get stuck into. It was really quite a boring bit for me because I just sort of stood here and watched things mash. Having two continuous brews happening at the same time I thought was going to be hectic. It did become hectic at the end when I had to try and cool everything down, but during the mashing process it was easy. The Braumeister, it just sat there, you dial in the temperatures, it does its thing. The Grainfather on the other hand, I had to be there, wait for a timer and coming up its temperature. Other than that, it's pretty easy. So during the mash I took a gravity reading at each temperature step. So as the temperature ramped up to its mashing temperature, I took a reading then, and then after the time, the duration for that step, I took another reading before it ramped up to the next temperature, and so on and so on. So it gave me a nice little graph to show me the gravity. And one machine went up high and one machine slowly rose, and it was really quite interesting to see that. But anyway, we'll let you watch that, and we'll see you in episode 3. Right, we are in. As I said, this pipe is what creates the pressure for the malt pipe to seal at the bottom, so the pumping pumps up and through and over. Okay, our 10 minutes is up on this, so I have set the temperature to 63 degrees. See if it shows me. Yep, temperature set at 63 degrees, and we'll turn the pump on. There we go. Pump it away, splashing up a little bit on the side there. I'll have to move that pipe around a bit, see if I can do that. Whoop, a 10-minute start. Actually, I've got to come over here. The Braumeister, and I can press the start button, enter, and start. So this is now doing its 10-minute protein rest. It had a little bit of extra time, but hey. So you see it's starting to pump up through the bottom. My bench is level. Should flow on both sides. No, my bench is a little bit off level. So there we go. That is the Braumeister starting to recirculate for its little protein rest. Meanwhile, the Grainfather is pumping away. Let's see if we can get in there and just move that pipe around a little bit. Sort of splashes up a little bit on the side there. The pipe seems to be a bit long, but hey, it's evenly going. Let's see if I can get that lid off. It's evenly going over the top of that filter, so it should be filtering through the grain bed nice and evenly. Bit awkward with that pipe. Meanwhile, This is just quietly recirculating. Now, when the Braumeister says this, pump break, the pump isn't broken, it's just having a rest. So don't freak. There we go, we're back again. So we are ready to ramp up to 63 degrees. So it's starting the second phase of the mash. So we've had our protein rest for 10 minutes, and now it's going to be ramping up from 53 degrees to 63, and once it hits 63 the timer will go down for 65. The 35-minute countdown will start. Meanwhile, on the Grainfather, our temperature has got up to 58 degrees. So once it hits 63 degrees, I'll set my timer for 35 minutes, and it'll do a 35-minute mash at 63 degrees. At that mash time, I will also take a gravity reading and just sort of see where that gravity is starting off. So as soon as this hits 63 degrees, I'll be taking a reading of this. And as soon as this hits 63 degrees, I'll be taking a reading of this as well. Sweet. The Grainfather has hit 63 degrees for its first mash step. So let's take a reading. Okay, it is at 1.031. Cool. First reading done. Dum 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 dum. What will it be? Ooh, we are at 1.022. Wow. Nearly 9 points in it so far. 1.022. Strength. Exciting stuff. Edge of my seat. Alrighty, after about what are we? 15 minutes into the 63 degree mash step, the liquor, the wort, has nearly come up to the top of that overflow pipe. Now there was a good 1.5 inch space in there, so it's slowly starting to build up. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. The grain bed might be compacting and making it a little bit more difficult for it to go through as fast as what it was before, in which case the overflow pipe will take it and it'll put it right down the bottom again. Interesting. Don't like this bloody arm, but here we go. Good stuff. Meanwhile, back in the Braumeister, it's just pumping along. Quiet, seamless. It says it is 20 minutes in for phase 2 of its mash. Cool. Timer is done. Yeah. Okay, so let's ramp this up to 73. And set. There we go. Take a sample. Where are we here? We've got 1 minute to go. This one's catching up quite nicely. Wow. Okay. So there we are. 35 minutes into the mash at 63 degrees. And likewise on the other side. Let's take a reading. Let's see where we are at the end of that first mash step. Okie dokie. Whoa, holy moly, we are at 1051. Wow. 1051 for the Grainfather. Where is the Braumeister? Oop, fogged up my little lens. The Braumeister is at 1040, so it is now 11 points behind. Fuck me. And it is starting to ramp up for its next stage. Phase 3. And so is this one. Whew, how's this going to end? Not much to do, eh? Sit here and watch things ramp up in temperature. Pretty easy brew day. Yeah, so anyway, so far we are at, where are we at? The Braumeister is nearly at 73 degrees, counting down on phase 3 of the mash. And the Grainfather is just struggling behind. Now that is only because it has a smaller wattage element for the mash cycle. This has reached 73 degrees, so it is now taken over the Grainfather. Now remember, I started this one 10 minutes before this one. Braumeister faster, Grainfather more efficient so far. Who's going to win in the end? Right, as for fermenting it, I am going to be putting 5 litres of each into a glass demijohn and fermenting them separately with half a packet of USO5. The remaining wort is going to go into the fermenter. Boom, boom. See, there's the demijohns sitting there, getting ready, all cleaned up. The rest of it will be combined and put into the fermenter and fermented with USO5 as well. However, I'm going to transfer it into my mash tun. So my mash tun is being all sterilised and everything because I need to pump into my conical. And at the moment, this one here has a little tap which is not connected to a pump, and this one has a counterflow chiller which could pump into there, but I want to mix the two together evenly, so I'll pump it straight into my mash tun, which, as I said, is all sanitised, and then hook my pump up and transfer it in the conical. Now, when it comes to chilling, the Braumeister comes with a stainless steel immersion chiller, whereas well, it doesn't come with it, that's an extra I think you've got to buy, whereas the Grainfather comes with a counterflow. So that'll be interesting to see how that works. Stainless steel, looks pretty, but copper's 10 times more effective at heat transfer. That's okay. Let's see how it goes. Right, back to watching pots boil. Braumeister is having a pump break. There we go, it's slowly sucking back down again. Clarity doesn't look that bad, look at that. It's a little bit hazy. Now I'm not going to add any finings or anything into the boil, I just want to brew them straight. Just make the most out of what these systems can do all by themselves. If it can filter out all that protein, if it can produce a clearer beer, I don't want any additives just changing the perception of how these machines brew beers. It's a bit awkward with this lid. One thing I will change. Much darker colour, definitely a darker colour in there. and we do have a little bit of wort overflow going down that overflow pipe. There we go. Look, it's ramped up too high, so it's overshooting its temperature a little bit. It's a bit of a pain. Really, you want these PIDs to be programmed to ramp down the temperature or ramp down the wattage just before it hits that temperature, because you don't want to overshoot. They got up to 76 degrees and it's meant to be at 73. Whereas down here, the Braumeister is keeping an even 73 degrees. Alright, the Braumeister is into phase 4 of the mash, so it's now starting to ramp up to 78 degrees. So quickly going to grab a gravity reading and see where it finished for its 73 degree mash cycle. Meanwhile, the Grainfather still has about 10 minutes left on its 73 degree mash stage. So it's starting to lag behind a little bit, but it makes it up for efficiency. There's the Braumeister coming up to its final mash stage, 78 degrees. And this is only for 10 minutes, and then we'll sparge it with some 78 degree water as well, just to rinse off the grains and see what we can get out of it. As for the Braumeister, as for the Grainfather, oh geez, get the names right. This one is pumping along as well. How hot's this? Clarity looks bloody good on the Grainfather. Looks a lot richer, but that may just be the volume of water that we can see there, the volume of wort. But this is just coming up to its 78 degree mark, so it's just heating up to do the same 10-minute step. Battery's running low as per usual, so I've got two batteries, but they're both charging. One's charging and one's using up. So let's get this out because it's finished. I'll have to change over at some stage to my phone, but that's fine. So we've got to remove the malt pipe out and let everything drain. So this is one little issue, is this nut's hot. This little wing nut that's been sitting in there getting warm. Same with that. Should really have some gloves on. Ouchies. Okay, now we've got a little handle thing that we put in here and we can lift it up. So I'll put this back on the tripod and hope she doesn't run out of bush juice. And let's pick her up. Yeah. That's the first stage. Then you pick it up again to get it totally out of the kiln. Ta-da! Alright, if we can see down in there, all the wort is now draining out of the grain bed, and we'll sparge some more on the top. Now I'm going to sparge both of them with 2.5 litres. 2.5, that's it. There's another interesting thing, is here's the clarity difference between the Braumeister and the Grainfather. I took a 90ml sample just as the mash cycle had finished. Interesting. Glove on because hot. The issue with both of these things is they don't have a separate vessel for heating up your sparge water. So I'm actually using my HLT and it's heated it up to 78 degrees. Just gonna put in half a litre at a time and do 2.5 litres. Yep. Alrighty, same thing for Grainfather. Time to take its mash pipe out. It's handy. It's a little rubber handle so you don't burn your hand. And because the pump pumps all the way up to here, there's no chance of leakage. Oops. Sorry about that. As the pump's outlet is right at the top, there's no chance of it spilling over or anything like that. It's quite a good design. Just move that out of the way. Take our lid off. It's hot. Our lid over there. Check our battery. Make sure that we're still going. Right. This will be a fun one to pick up. Quite heavy. As I said to Dean, this is a low bench and I'm 6'4", it's easy to pick it up that high. Right, now if we have a look inside there are little lugs that hold the grain, the malt pipe out, which is a really handy design as well. You don't have to put the little bar in like this one, so you just need to hoist it up and give it a twist. Just drain it out of there. We'll sparge that with 2.5 litres of 78 degree water as well, and then set it to boil. Meantime, battery's going flat. We might miss a little bit of the boil while I charge stuff.